Hi, and welcome to my series where I am celebrating Reboot Hiring by subtly putting it across the screen as often as possible. And today we're trying again. I'm speaking with Maya Huber from TaTiO again, because we had this whole flourishing conversation and it didn't go out live. So I'm hoping this time
If
it'll be
not,
amazing.
Katrina, next time we're having an ice cream,
At least one.
at
I think
least.
for 45 minutes, I reckon we could get through a couple. Mightn't be very enjoyable for anyone watching, but we'll enjoy it. So
That's the purpose, no?
this is very true. It is a party. It is a celebration of subtle coloured book Reboot Hiring, which I'm super excited about. But I want to talk more about what you've been up to. So tell me the story. How did you create TaTiO? What was the background and getting into this whole simulation-based hiring, and where did it all start?
Okay, so first of all, Katerina, I must tell you, you know that already, that I follow you for years. I really appreciate your work and your book, and I'm excited of everything next coming up from your way.
Mhm. Thank you.
And thank you for having me. I'm excited as well.
Again.
Again and again, and I will come over again and again. We can have it like
Ice cream.
a series of ice cream, testing different tastes. Anyway, I'm a recruiter. I was working as a recruiter for 15 years before establishing TaTiO. Actually, I love to say that TaTiO is my way of solving my own issues,
Which is good, right?
right?
If there isn't a solution, create one. Why not?
Yeah. But
Well,
actually, and luckily, it's not just my issues. But anyway, I was working for as a recruiter for 15 years. I also hold the PhD. My expertise is the future of work and
yeah.
job analysis. So the last thing I done as a recruiter, I was working
Mhm.
for a government contract, a huge one.
Yeah.
And the government, it was a specific project for integrated people from underrepresented populations into work.
Yep. Amazing.
Where the government requested us to find a tool that will pre-qualify candidates on the first interview and
Mhm.
assess their ability to work in a specific job. So
Yep.
I said, sure, we'll find something, right? I took my PhD skills back to science,
Love it.
uh,
But was the
browsing.
sorry, I totally interrupted you, which I will do because I'm really bad for that.
Go ahead.
Was the specific job though, was it quite was it a manual kind of job? Was it something that it was sort of possible? Like sometimes it's a bit like, oh, how could I possibly create something to
No, so it
pre-qualify?
was. It was actually everything, and when we started, we didn't really know. We just knew that
Oh,
we need to find a
okay.
tool. It was even
Yep.
before the project was established. So I went through the data, and all I
Mm.
found was questionnaires. So I
Yep.
took some of them, the most qualified that you probably know of, and I was trying that on those own people. And
Yep.
when you ask people who are out of the workforce for
Mm.
what they can do, they do
Mhm.
not know. And they kept telling me,
Mm.
"You will tell me. I came to you. Tell me what I can do." Like I don't know. And it
Oh,
was over and over
so
again. It was
true.
so frustrating.
And also because their self-esteem drops, doesn't it, when they've been out of work for a while, and it's like you do start forgetting what you're capable of because we too often, don't we? We identify with our work as that's our worth. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Mm.
even if not, even if we met those people who had, still their higher, they have their high self-esteem.
Mm.
Sometimes they needed to change their job because of,
Yeah.
an accident.
Mhm.
Because I think the most simple example that I can get you, someone who was doing manual QA,
Yeah.
and by the time he got back to work, QA was automated, and it was 3 years.
Wow.
Think of it, how many people was facing that. So anyway,
Yeah.
we got really frustrated, and the government wanted this tool, and I was sitting with my team and said, oh my god, if we could just let them do the job, right? uh, and then we said, okay, maybe that's what we should do. So for years, all through this project, we were
Mm.
crafting the most outdated basic simulations on our
Yeah.
office. It was a government project, so we had an office.
Mm.
And we were simulating jobs, like call centers, people work in the food industry, office environment, administrative, everything. The most advanced and complex thing we've done was fumbologist.
Zombologist.
Fumbologist.
Thumb with it. Thumb.
Fumbologist. One of the most
Wait, what is
toughest
a
words to say.
thumpologist?
The people who take your blood on a blood
Ah,
test.
yes. Obviously. I just call them
It was then that I found out that those people are not nurses.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
It was shocking.
Interesting.
Anyway, the
It kind of makes you a bit concerned about that, doesn't it? Like, you're jabbing a needle in somebody. And yeah, okay.
Anyway, we were doing this for a while, and the results were unbelievable. We know each other for a while. Katrina, I think you know that I'm an optimistic person.
Yes.
But back then, I told my team, listen, I'm not sure about it. It's like the population we meet are so complex, not that skilled. And over again, doing this process of pre-qualification based on skills and then doing the placement was amazingly successful with retention as well. And after 5 years of doing that, the project was expanded, and I had the courage. Listen, look at me. I mean, we did my courage shirt today.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I had the courage to take tech into this and implement this. So this is the backstory behind TaTiO. And to be honest, the beginning was all focused on social impact.
Mm-hmm.
And we put it in front of the market, and people kept telling us we are onto something that is relevant for all. So this is where we expanded it to a more of a general HR tech solution.
So I want to go back a step. It's funny,
Sure.
I was in a podcast recently and they kept doing that to me as well. Explain the bit. So you were getting them to come in and visualize like what it's like to work in a call center. I mean, I assume with the fumbologist, they weren't actually, you gave them oranges and needles rather than arms, I hope. But is that what it was? It was literally come in and try it out, inverted commas.
Yeah. And we had students.
How long would those take? Was it like a day or was it?
Yeah, it was highly demanding for my team. Not scalable at all. Not scalable at all. We had students a lot over because we were training students in our company, and they were helping us. They were sitting near that person, simulating calls. They were writing notes, and we were grading the candidates based on that. And it took us a while with TaTiO. When we started building the simulations. It also took a while to understand what we need to build, how it should look like, and how it could be scaled, right?
Yeah.
Because again, tech. Eventually, I can share. So maybe just to share that, first of all, TaTiO right now is a virtual job simulation platform.
Yeah,
we have a technology.
Cool, even just from what I've seen, like playing around on your website, like.
Thank you.
I like the driver one. Come and feel like what it's like to actually, which is really cool that you can just do that on your phone.
And not just drivers, pretty much everything from picker, packer, retail, hospitality, substitute teachers. We have we are now doing also some
even in the
work.
Substitute teachers, do you put like horrible students in as well, like people like me who weren't behaving and listening? And
I will say we have some situation with challenging students. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, we do, and we do test our ability to deal with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what we do, we have a technology that enables us to mimic jobs.
Yeah.
Cool. So as you said, pretty much every job you can have in mind on your mobile or desktop, you have the opportunity to just experience it as much as possible, in a virtual environment. It's not a meta glasses game, okay?
Yeah, because they're so expensive.
And I don't like them.
You'd have to send them. Yes, I remember that from the attempt one. But you'd have to send them out to all the candidates as well.
Yes, and then we don't want people to come into the office. Exactly.
Yeah, otherwise you are dragging them in, aren't you? And they can do it on their phone. And also, yes, we have both talked about motion sickness from the...
Dizziness.
I,
Yeah, I
I
hate
did
those.
a talk. It was Matt Burns put on this amazing event, but unfortunately it was in the pandemic. So they were stupidly expensive. But I remember doing, and it was cool, but it also freaked me out a wee bit. But it's a funny feeling wearing those glasses.
It is. It is. It is.
So yeah, I like that you've
Um,
stayed away from that to make it more accessible because most people have a phone, don't they? Or access to a phone. They can borrow someone's phone.
Listener, you probably agree with me on that. Your recruiting life is so complex and difficult and so, demanding. We want to make it easier of everybody. And to be
Mm.
honest, each and every time where I'm sharing the story with friends, people are excited as job seekers, that is something new.
Yeah.
Um, we and and I think it's a combination of the fact that we are on one end trying to avoid resumes and to offer a
Mhm.
new approach to hiring, but at the same time making it fun again
Yeah.
and with value to the candidate. I think this part is missing out a lot in the market recently.
Hmm.
We are so into automation
Hmm.
that we forgot a bit what is to have, an emotional connection to a job opportunity,
It's
right?
it's awful, and the ghosting and the no feedback, which anyone that knows me knows I go on about. 87% of job applicants, if they're ghosted, get down or depressed. It's it's
Absolutely.
87%. It's insane. And the trouble is that I think there's a lot of, which actually we should talk about, but there's a lot of application overload at the current time because the market is bonkers. We still don't seem to have come out of this roller coaster from 2020. Hopefully next year will be nice, depending on what happens with elections. But that is one of the things that TaTiO can help with, right? Is that reducing the application overload, or at least giving them an experience which makes it easier to filter people out and giving them
Absolutely.
an experience. Is that right? You've had that with clients, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the main idea. We see a spam phenomena. And I don't mean spam
Mm.
by, someone is anyone there's sorry, I will start again. No one is trying to do it intentionally, okay?
Uh,
But
mm,
maybe
uh,
most people, let's say
there's
most, okay?
most aren't. Yeah. Yeah.
Most aren't. But the fact is, due to and luckily with automation, because we love automations, we're using them, we implement those for decades. It's
Hmm.
so easy to apply.
Yeah.
Right? You can apply everywhere, anytime. You do not read anything. You just click, 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 or use a bot.
Yeah.
I must tell you, I'm amazed with the usability of bots and tools, even for those entry level jobs. You thought that those people are not tech savvy. Millennials and Gen Z teach us that AI today is not being a tech savvy, right? It's just
Yeah.
you know
And I just think that it's come from incredible frustration and overwhelm that, they're
right.
not getting anywhere. They're not hearing back. So I'll just spam it out and hope. And it's
Absolutely,
counterintuitive to them, but I do understand why people are doing it. And not that long ago,
absolutely.
it was recruiters spamming everybody. So it's a little bit of payback.
In a way,
But
um,
I think it's come from frustration, from that feeling of I apply and it goes into a black hole. And again, it's also not everybody. There's this perception that it's everyone. And I think the other thing I'm hearing is happening is now I'm hearing this a lot from recruiters is that job applicants are using ChatGPT to create the exact same cover letter and the exact same resume, and therefore the job seekers are becoming vanilla rather than
yeah,
leaving their personalities in. So actually, again, your tool's getting around that, isn't it? With that, you're going to show that
I
you're
think
capable of doing the job.
yeah, I think the way I see it, it's a completely different approach. Instead of
Mm,
just filling forms and do the task without paying attention, you
mm,
invest some time. We just talked, Katrina, about how much both of us are young, right? But
yes.
when we
Yeah.
were looking for a
I'm
job,
12 years younger than young.
exactly. But when I was looking for my first job, right?
Mhm,
I assume that you are as well. We
mhm.
were paying more attention to what we are selling, sending where. Who do we talk with? What job do we want? What does it look
Mhm.
like?
Yeah.
Um, and I think for me, the idea is go back to that a little bit and have a
Mhm.
deeper emotional connection. And if candidates do something that
Mhm.
is required to the process, but also to provide them with value of understanding of the
Yes.
job, of the experience
Exactly.
they're about to do, what will be the demands,
Mm.
and to keep it fun and gamified. and engaging, so we will not lose them to the funnel, because as a recruiter, I know how important it is. When you have the attention of the candidates, you want to keep it. So
Yeah.
all the design of the simulation was all about that, to create value, to keep them connecting with us along the process. And we do
Well, and the
improve
opposite.
that.
But the other thing is the opposite. So I come along and I do one of the simulations, let's say the supply teacher or yeah, that's the right word, isn't it? And I'm like,
Substitute.
no, substitute. Yeah, there's just no way in a million years. I'm really proud of my middle nephew who's a teacher, but there's no way. I will teach adults. I will not teach children. He's amazing. But I would do that test and I'd go, this is not for me. And I would
Right.
deselect myself. And I also think that's a great thing. Sometimes companies are scared of people deselecting, but actually, I think it's really valuable because you get the people that are super keen staying in the process.
Absolutely. And I think if that will be balanced, no one will be afraid of losing candidate. I think we're still,
Mm,
some of the recruiters I meet are still thinking on a post-COVID terms. We're not there anymore. The
mm,
market have changed.
mm,
And also I have another, to follow your thoughts, dream
mm,
of with me for a second, that if I'm a candidate and I did something that was not for me,
mm,
and I will get feedback with another offer of experiencing something
mm.
else, and I will like that, I will
Yeah.
stay in the process. I will be engaged. Actually, I will appreciate that employer more. And when you
Yeah.
look at skill-based hiring, this is where we need to go, right?
Mm, yeah.
I
Oh,
see we have a question.
I know. Can I show it? Dun,
Yeah,
dun,
of
dun.
course.
Oh, I can. Oh, it's not showing all of it. I don't know how I show all of it. Sue,
Read
hello.
it.
I haven't spoken to you in eons. In the hairdressing world, we do trade tests to see if stylists work. We've increased that process to trade test days, and they have clients aligned to their disclosed training level, and we give them simulated scenarios. Right, hang on. I have to go and read it over here. Oh, no, come back. I
Ah,
can use technology, really. I'm not Gen X. And we give them simulated scenarios to add how they might approach situations. It's so powerful for both parties. And they pay them,
I
which is
absolutely
amazing.
agree. Yeah.
Long interview processes take so valuable time. It's not a perfect system, and we'll probably might change it. The
Stu,
objective is
thank
more
you very much
simulation
for
time.
this.
That's
I
amazing.
think this is exactly how skill-based hiring should look like. It should start in the interview itself with demonstrating more scenarios or questions that
Mm,
are relevant. Actually, I just add a poster specifically about that. How can you ask candidate questions that are necessarily, you know, there are that do not necessarily ask about their ability to do something. Like
mm,
I can ask you, Katrina, how is your creative skills? And you will say,
brilliant.
I'm amazing, right?
I'm a Canva pro.
Right. But it will be different. I will ask you,
Mm,
I will give you a scenario in my work and I will ask you, how will you solve it? And then I
yeah,
can learn from your creativity in a way that reflect my context of the job. And I think this is where we need to go. Um,
yeah.
Actually, one of the things that I see recently, I have more and more conversation in the last 6 months about skill-based hiring. We talked about it,
Mm,
Katrina.
yeah.
And one of the things that I see is how companies struggle with defining skills, sometimes in a way that make it so complex for the company and the recruiting team to implement
Mm,
that. So many buzzwords, like
mm.
teamwork.
What does
What is
that
a
actually
teamwork?
mean? Hmm.
How does it look like,
Yeah.
right? To be a
I know.
teamwork in one, any department could look different than the other.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I think my fear all the time with skill-based hiring is you could hire someone with 100% of the skills who's toxic. So it's like, yeah, some
Absolutely.
of it, but it's becoming just a little bit too much. It has to be balanced out with that behavioral piece. But the other thing is, if you're going to do it really well, you do need to map the entire company for their skills. Whereas what you're doing is actually, no, we can still just do this in recruitment initially until we map everything else out. Because you can just
So
show
this is my
genuinely, this is the job. This is how you do it. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, actually, this is my advice for our talent acquisition members who ask me about implementation of skill-based hiring and AI, because those are the two main conversation right now.
Yeah.
I always tell them
Buzzword
start,
bingo.
yeah, start by enriching
Mm,
your current database.
mhm.
Start by that. Take what you do right now,
Yeah.
okay? In order to use AI, you needed a better database that is reflecting
Mhm.
your workforce and not the text-based data that you're using. This is
Yeah.
step one. Enrich it, keep what you have. You don't need to throw it all. Okay, we are still
Mhm.
learning. Add
Yeah.
another layer that evaluates skills, and eventually you will have a strong database that enable you to have proper decision making.
Mm.
Um, so this is exactly how I look at it. I
Mm.
think we need to take it one step at a time. And I agree with you, Katrina. I
Mm.
believe the right way to go is a combination between skill-based assessment, or more, as we do, I know not objective, a performance-based assessment,
Yeah.
questionnaire, and of course, recruiting interview that understand if they're toxic or not, or any other aspect of
Mm.
their cultural behavior.
Yeah. I'm just
It
seeing
should be
it
a
swinging.
combination of them all.
Exactly, and I just don't know why it's swinging so far to the one. And and it's just like, I saw a post yesterday and it was like, oh, because I've seen it happen in companies. I've seen them hire that wrong person who was
Oh,
brilliant,
so many times.
toxic, and the company implodes. Like the whole company gets impacted. And that one person can do that is so extraordinary, but it just one person in the wrong role. And yeah, oof.
I feel like each and every time there's a buzz
Okay, bingo.
phenomena or word, or we feel like this would be our savior, right?
Mm,
That will solve our issue, that will help us work better, that will be the one. And I think we need to trust ourselves, I mean, as a recruiters, and to understand we have our own skills and capabilities, and we need to
mhm,
smartly use what's out there to have a better decision
absolutely.
making.
Yeah.
And be more critical with what we're using. I like, for instance, chatbots are one of the solutions that I think that made a dramatic shift in the market for a period
Mhm.
of time. But now um, they're just another layer of test, or another
Yeah.
communication way, which is important. But we need
Mm,
to take it one step deeper, I'll say.
yeah. I think it depends how you use them. So I've got an example in press the wrong way, orange one.
Yeah.
Maybe I am still mirrored. Anyway, in the robot proof recruiter, I've got an example of Yodel using a chatbot, but they just recruit drivers and they recruit drivers and they recruit drivers. And it's like, that's what because it's a courier company. So it's really quite cool because you actually go through the application process there and then, and you get a result there and then. And it's not a layer of barrier. It's a layer
Right.
of what do you actually need? Can you carry 32 kilos? No, I can't. Okay, I'm sorry, this job isn't for you. It's like, it's literally, so that's when it's quite good. But I agree with you. Sometimes if they can be used exceptionally well. And I have seen really good
Oh my
examples.
God. Yeah.
But it can also be another. And I think that I assume your tests are quite short as well. That
Yeah. Of
that's
course.
good. And does everybody get feedback there and then?
Unfortunately,
There,
no,
okay.
because companies are afraid to give this feedback. Um,
This is me staring at you, companies.
you know what? I understand you, which I feel like you, and I understand the companies as well. I do hope that we'll reach a step where they will be able to see their full results and not just a general feedback.
Mm,
Hopefully, when they have them over hired, they do share that with them, because we do offer some layer of training that they can
yeah.
use, and insights for them to use on onboarding and training. Um, I, I I feel that the market is not there,
Mm,
for several reasons, and we do not share result. I
mm,
believe that the candidate knows doing the simulation, the feedback is not directly there, but you understand if you
but they
got it
get,
or not. You understand what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
I think my big thing is, and I have really explained it in shameless plug Reboot Hiring, is the problem is the internet. So if you are going to get people to do a test, and in your case, a simulation, which actually I really love because I think it gets around so many diversity issues and ageism and all sorts of stuff. But it's payment for their time. And if you don't give them that thank you and that here's your feedback, then they go and complain about you on the internet. And then it stops your future hiring. And I just think companies don't seem to get that. I mean, it was funny when you said about when you first started in the world of work. You know, I started in the world of work when there was a newspaper with a small advertisement, and I did not know how many jobs were out there. I didn't know how many applications were out there. I didn't have choices. I mean, even
Right.
now, even in this unstable market, people still have choice because of the internet. So it's sort of like, this is my issue. That's why they get stared down about the feedback thing. It's like, please give them something, because
Yeah, and
otherwise
at
they
least
will bad
tell
mouth.
them where they stand, right?
Yeah, closure. It's just closure. It's just, you know
You
how
know,
you
Katrina, but
feel
I think
when you get ghosted by someone. We've all got phones within reach, and you get ghosted by someone, and you're just like, but I know their phone is within reach of them. Why can't they answer me? And it's so agitating, so stress inducing. So yeah, but I know I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I would assume your tool helps a little bit with career change as well, rather than it being.
Katrina, I can't hear you all of a sudden. Do you
Oh,
hear me?
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, it got that.
Okay.
Sorry.
I
Yeah.
probably went too far away from my microphone. Um, this must be good with things like ageism and career change, and because people get to show and demonstrate that they can do something. Have you had some examples from your clients of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really exciting one we just did with our partner in Spain with one of the most known hotel chains. We had a project named
Yeah.
Parati that invite people that taught women out of work to apply to hospitality positions.
Yeah.
What we did some, we did it with the Deco Foundation. They were posting a social media campaign about inviting people back, women back to work, asking
Mhm.
them some questions about their needs. It was really short, and then have them try out a few simulations out of TaTiO.
Yeah.
And that was all top of the funnel initiative. So this is the
Mm.
first thing they done. They put the skill up front, and then we connected
Yeah.
them with relevant companies. The results were great, and I think what the most important thing we did, one, we of course there's the social impact here that was amazing.
Mm.
That we were,
Yeah.
we found we enabled women to go back to work and find a job.
Mm.
But from the hotel's point of view, the value was, first of all, they reached population they never touched before. And when
Mhm.
you are struggling to hire, the fact that you have reach out people just that they came over just because you invited them to try out the job before applying,
Mm.
and to put their skills up front and not their resumes. Resumes were not there.
But they
This
don't have them,
just
do they? I've been off having a child or career gap it's you immediately feel like you're justifying yourself when you've got a gap, don't you? And they're not.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think just the fact that they were unable to put their skills up front,
Mm.
to
Mm.
straighten the field with what they want, to put up front their needs, and then to be judged by that, was
Yeah.
so dramatic for them. And we hear from users the word transparent and objective and fair. And I think this is where the workforce is
Mm.
going. So, and you also want to work with those employers, right? Those are the ones you want to
Mm.
work with.
Because
So
word gets
definitely,
out as well, doesn't it? They're then writing reviews because they genuinely are so excited. I had an objective process. I felt heard.
yeah,
I'm going to
I
find this
was
company.
hired. The
And then they
company
tell
saw me.
everyone they know. They tell all the women that they know in their network.
Yeah. And you know what? More than that, when once they have difficulties, they stay and they are more
Mhm.
committed to the organization. And
Yeah.
this is those are specifically those positions who have such a
Mm.
major turnover.
Yeah.
So I truly
Yeah.
think that, and you know,
Mm.
I'm a big fan of skill based hiring.
Mm.
But one of the reason I'm a big fan of it because that's also a way
Mhm.
to bring over untapped pool of talent
Yeah.
that for the first time as a way to apply and to participate in the workforce in an equal way.
Mm. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against skill-based hiring. I just want
I
to
know,
make sure that they're not toxic.
I know, I know.
It's the balance, isn't it? It's another
Everything.
tool, and and it can be used really well. Actually, it's just like life, isn't it? You can use it well or you can use it badly. But I just love where that is. And while I was thinking about that, I was thinking of all the return to work programs and things like that, and
Yeah,
also it would instill confidence as well when you've had that gap and you've got a bit rusty. I mean, I even think of I work for myself, so I don't have the gap so much. But when I stood on a stage again to speak after the pandemic and I hadn't stood on a stage, and that initial adrenaline rush as I stood up there, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I haven't done this in a while. I'm rusty, but you get to show okay, I'm rusty, but I can do it. Like, just give me a little bit of
Yeah.
time and I'll get up to speed. I'm just thinking
And
how many industries could do that are quite closed to like anybody with a gap or
uh,
yeah.
yeah, with a gap, with in confidence,
Mm.
anything out there, or even let's keep it even simpler. As a one someone, one of my best friends, she worked for the television,
Mhm.
one of the most known television channels here, with
Broadcasting.
the productions. Yeah, production. That was
Yeah.
the word I was. She was doing it for almost 22 years, and she fed up. She wanted something more balanced to work with her kids, and
Yeah.
she was looking for a simple job, administrative job in a tech company. And no one could look at the resume because she seemed overqualified,
Yeah.
or the words in their experience in their experience were not relevant for the job they require. They assume it's not, but when you think of it, she did production. She is the most
Mm.
talented manager you can find, working in complex situations with complex people, getting things done on a super
Mm.
stressful environment.
Very stressful.
And so think of her applying for jobs just with her skills. In a minute, companies
Mm.
can understand what their power. She
Mm.
won't need, personal connections and people connect her to job. Um, and when the workforce is changing so rapidly and no career path is linear anymore, right?
No.
You jump between industries all the time.
Yeah. And it's funny
You need
because
to focus on skills.
the skills you're talking about, the soft skill, because
Yeah.
heaven forbid we write down our soft skills, are skills we would not write down on our resume or CV or whatever you like to call that document. Um, and but we actually need, but you just don't. So she wouldn't write down, I've been in high pressure environments, managing people, delivering to, you just wouldn't. I've had to draw on empathy. I've had to draw on resilience and grit and all this sort of stuff. But actually, with your simulations, just that's what they're doing. They're demonstrating it without
Yeah,
having to
and also
write.
I always, I told her that if I was a recruiting, looking at the resumes, and I know nothing about the TV industry, even if she would write that she worked in complex situation, I will not know what she's talking about.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Yeah, what does it look like?
Mm.
So even if I'm coming with with motivation to read her resume and to understand if she's qualified, I cannot really read this.
Yeah.
Context matters.
Mm.
Context is crucial, I think, for everybody, and we are eliminating that on the recruiting process because we
Mm.
screen, the same words in the resumes.
Mm.
I can tell you a story. One of the things that we found out here, due to AI, I'm out of Israel, and one of the startup nation. This is our name. One
Yeah.
of the reason is what we have some extreme units here on the military that drives strong technology outside.
Mm.
Someone just told me that they found out that if you are crafting a resume in ChatGPT and write in white, like a logo that you cannot see,
Mm.
A200 unit, which is one of the top units in Israel,
Mm.
the application, the ATS, read it, even if it's on a white font,
Yeah.
and more people are invited to interview, even if they were not on that unit.
Wow.
So, okay, so this is crazy. What should people do that? But they do. I'm thinking what of more things that we need to do. And
I mean,
for
that's just
me,
more noise to wade through of potentially unsuitable people. I mean, I do hear of people like keyword stuffing their CVs in white
yeah,
font.
yeah. And I
Um,
think
and again,
how
just
far did we get that candidates need to do that?
yeah, I did. I mean, back in 2018, when I was asked to
Yeah,
write a book, that was pretty well what it was because already I could just see too many layers of BS between the candidate and the job. It was so easy when I started in the world of recruitment. I would like look for you and I would call you and your phone would ring and it was annoying. So you'd answer it and we would speak. But I had actually a head of TA, he just sends me his rejections that he gets, which is really heartbreaking because he is brilliant. And he's getting knocked back. But, one of them was that he'd not worked in a unicorn. And he wrote back, if you picked up the call and had a conversation with me, I would have told you about the unicorn that I have worked in. And it's just like, oh my goodness. And how's just stupid. And it's just like,
oh my God, I can't believe that.
And speak to people. This was actually agency, but you're just like, call people, speak to them. Yeah, but no, that's not what we do anymore. So, but I feel like you're bridging the gap from there's people that just flatly do not want to talk to people. They weirdly work in recruitment and then don't want to have a conversation with people, which I don't quite understand.
Sadly.
But yeah, they're probably in the wrong job. But that's another conversation. But actually, you have created something that's quite human. It's an experience that people feel. They're immersed in it without.
Yes.
Thank God. But
Katrina, I have a question for you.
Oh crap. Okay.
Okay, are you ready? Okay, it's not that complex. I do want to ask you why you've been out there recently because you're so young, but I do.
She's still here, and I just know she's chuckling at that because she knows how old I am. Yeah. Anyway,
I do want to ask you, what are the solutions that you want to see coming out of the market in the upcoming years?
Oh my word! Could we just go? I'd like us to get back to basics. Right now, I would like us to breathe. Okay, what you're doing creates a human experience and a feeling and an emotion, and I love that, right? So no issues with tools that do that. But I have an issue with this layers of barrier, because what is broken? Oh my God, it's amazing. I wrote an entire book about it for managers and leaders about what's broken. And what's broken is the beginning of the process. So what I would love to see is companies take a breath and really think about, should they be hiring externally for starters? Should they be hiring? Should they be hiring externally first? Who have they got? Who could they promote, backfill? Like, let's take a step back because I'm really sick of the over hiring and the over firing. I'm sick of, in fact, I'm sick of the whole VC thing because that's a lot of that as well. I will give you tons of money and you can hire and then don't worry, you'll fire them all. This is people's mental health. So I would love us to just pause a bit and then really think about the technology in that space. I did see one yesterday, which is, it helps people to articulate the actual job specification, but that doesn't necessarily show the human side. Like you're showing the
specification or job description. What do you mean?
The job description. So the actual, what do you need to do? So, you might say a technology and it will help spill it out. But the thing is, again, I go back to but what's the human side that's needed here? And
but Katrina,
there's more to it. There's more of that, the manager understanding really who they're hiring, that they're not over hiring, that there's people involved so that they interview them properly and it's all respectful. So that doesn't answer your question, but honestly, I would.
No, it is.
Prefer to see that than more technology. I'm screaming into the wind this way going, humans, you're impacting humans. And then they're going, tick, 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 the other way. And I'm just like, oh, I can't compete. Like, there's just too much noise coming at me. But yeah.
Actually, I feel like those tools. I feel like the tool that optimize job application processes, like writing a better job description, are giving us even they're doing that as worse than it should be, because it is eliminating the human factor. It makes our life easier in a way because we write everything with the chat, but it looks like it was crafted. Yeah,
it looks vanilla. What I would love to do is actually partner with some of those companies to go, okay, well, that's all well and good, but can I train the managers so they understand the human implications? So it's like you said, when I started out, I really thought about who I wanted to work for. So you really looked at their values and like, do I want to work for them? They're the questions. So there's a great question in Reboot Hiring, another shameless plug. Don't worry, I'll make 75p when you buy a copy, so don't get too excited. But please buy a copy. Christmas is coming. The Debbie Easterday has a great question in there, which is, if somebody you loved was coming to work for this organization, what would you warn them about? And she
Oh,
asked all
wow.
her managers that, right? And
Wow,
so
that's a great
you
question.
get the selling point. You get the, well, I'd warn them about this, but I'd also tell them about this, because people will give a positive and a negative. And
I
then
have another
that's
good questions
selling that
that is the
stands out
same
vanilla. Yeah. Yep. Go.
for the candidate. I'm asking my the people I interview. I ask them what people get wrong about you.
Mm, mm.
Uh,
They think I'm an extrovert. I am not an extrovert. You got to watch me not network a room.
I don't believe in that, Katrina. I need to see it live to believe. I don't believe in
Oh my
that.
god. Oh my god, I'm the worst. It was so funny because I actually went to an in-person event yesterday, and it was really lovely to be around people, but oh wow, was I peopled out like really fast because I'm so rarely around people. But yeah, no, my thing is I will find like I'll just edge up to one person, and that's pretty well it. Whereas an extrovert will just walk around the room and talk to everybody. Whereas but you put
I'm
me on
like you.
that
I'm
stage,
like
I'm
you.
in heaven. Like being on the stage. Don't
Me
have to
too.
network the room.
I prefer the stage than network tour.
Yeah. I like the
That's
role.
interesting. I
Yeah,
agree.
so that's the big one. And just because somebody is social, to me also introversion is about like where do you get your energy? I generate my own energy, so I get exhausted being around other people. Yeah, extroverts trying to drain it off you, don't they? I'm grossly generalizing, but so but I think there's a lot of very social introverts. They're more than capable of doing this. I know brilliant many speakers who are of the
Absolutely.
introversion. So yeah, that would be my answer to your question, which is not what you were expecting, but I decided to go there.
I love your surprises, Katerina. That's the reason I love
Yeah.
talking to you.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. So what's next on the plan for TaTiO? Or you, for
Okay,
that
the
matter?
dream,
The dream?
the
Well,
dream,
global domination, obviously.
of course. But the dream is so we have our own proprietary technology that enable us to craft the cool simulation you saw without writing a
Yep.
code using AI. The dream is that in the future, recruiters will be able to upload the job description and the
Mhm.
simulation will be created automatically for them to attach to a job description or, I don't know, any communication with the candidate. And we're getting there. We're getting there. But this is the real
Job boards.
dream.
Job boards are behind.
Yeah.
That'll be the issue, won't it? Because you'll create this, they go to post the job, getting the simulation to go with it. You could have it as landing pages and career sites and things, but that'll be fun. I just want to pull up Sue's comment, which is really cute. My son is an introvert and seems aloof in interviews. Think that it goes against him. But actually, what with your performance-based tools, that's
All roads lead to Rome, Katrina.
yeah. Yeah, Sue's going to check your tool out as well. But like you think that actually really does help with because it's such a awkward environment, isn't it? Being in an interview and it feels so fake as well.
It is fake.
Actually, I should tell you a funny story about an interview I had in 2003.
Okay.
I think it was 2003, it might have been 2004. I was interviewed by Steve Sims and Richard Norris for Spring Technology, who I ended up working for 5 years. But we got to the end of the interview and I got lulled into a false sense of security by the two of them. And we were talking about the worst things that had been said in interview. And Richard said what one of them was. And I went, oh, what a wank. Didn't even know I said it because I'm Australian. I was like, I didn't think anything of it. And I very nearly didn't get a second interview. And actually, that company was the one that really gave me that very candidate-centric human focus that I now talk about. Like I mention their names in both my books because they gave me the grounding, candidate first, human first. So yeah, I was very lucky, but I swore. Who knew what a wank is bad to say, but apparently
This is a great story.
bring the Australian to London and they guarantee they'll swear in an interview. So obviously if people want to know more, what's the easiest way to get in touch with you?
Website and of course personally on my LinkedIn. Our website is TaTiO, TaTiO.io. Love to have conversation with talent acquisition people about skill-based hiring and everything else.
Awesome.
And thank you very much, Katerina, for having me.
Thank you for coming a second time. And it went live this time because TaTiO has been